All right, perfect. We are up and loaded. So please, Travis, introduce yourself. What do you do? What do you own? Where are you located?
Yeah, so my name's Travis Bogard. I'm the coach and owner at Above the Rest Training Systems. We're a Strongman Gym here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Strongman, a little bit of powerlifting. Yeah, primarily Strongman anymore.
That's awesome. And do you guys host lift meets there?
Yeah, so Strongman has competitions. You know what I mean? Just for
Right.
the lingo. We've hosted a novice only competition for beginners just about every year since 2021. We host that in April. It's coming up. Should be fun. And then we've helped host the Strongman portion of the Celtic Festival here in Cheyenne every June, and we've been doing that since 2020. Yeah, so we don't host them in house. The gym doesn't have the space for that sort of thing. It's just a little warehouse, and so the Cold Breakers happens outside of the nutrition company off of Pershing, the supplement shop here in town. And then the Celtic Festival happens down at Lions Park with the rest of the festival.
That's incredible. Okay. And so then, being a gym, do you guys have like closed groups, open groups where like anybody can come train all the time or anytime?
Yeah, so primarily anymore, most of what I do personally is online. We've
Oh,
almost
okay.
entirely leaned into the online coaching. And so the gym has kind of become, we still run a little bit of personal training work just to work with some athletes in person.
Oh,
But primarily we just introduce lifters to the gym and then kind of facilitate training afterwards. So we have our Build Your Wings program is a 4 week program that's designed to take lifters with no experience at all and have them feeling proficient and safe and lifting independently by the end of it. And so that's about the main thing that we do anymore. The rest of it is just athletes that are either utilizing the online coaching services through our gym or they have their own independent coaches and they're just training for strongman using the facility.
wow, that's incredible. What
Yeah.
made you want to start this here in Cheyenne?
Just chasing passions, honestly. When we opened at first, it was honestly mostly a powerlifting facility. Some very close friends of mine were in strongman. Were seeking to, do better in strongman. I dabbled myself, and then next thing you know, we just fell in love with the sport, fell in love with the community, and decided to go all in. And so that happened probably late 2020, early 21. I mean, we opened in 2020, and so it was really soon after that we decided to really kind of go all in on the strongman.
Wow, even with COVID happening?
Yeah, so we opened on January 1st of 2020, which was about the time that whispers were starting to kind of come around about it. And then it really hit full swing in Wyoming as far, well, and I mean, this is a historical accounting, right? Like political opinions aside. Um, within Wyoming, they did shut things down. They shut things down for about a month, and that was about it. And then they came back with some restrictions that they thought were going to be helpful. Us being such a small facility, I mean, at the time the membership was so small that we just kind of did our best. We just kind of juggled the restrictions and everything, and then but yeah, being that we were in Wyoming, the restrictions were not they were not as burdensome as I think they were in other areas, especially not in Colorado. And then they were relatively brief as well, so less burdensome, shorter duration overall. And so I think a lot of pieces got hit a lot harder than we did by by COVID as a phenomenon, I guess, in general.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard a lot of, I wasn't in Wyoming when COVID hit, but I've heard a lot about how people say like Wyoming, like people don't think Wyoming exists and it didn't hit us at all. It was like life just kept going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've got friends that work at the hospital, and it definitely was a thing. It was definitely something that impacted people's lives.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, as far as as far as the political response and everybody else and like in the restrictions that happened as far here in Cheyenne at least, I didn't feel the burden the way that I think a lot of people did throughout the country.
Yeah, yeah, understandable. And so then to have things really pick up, do you feel like owning the gym has been like your number one like identity piece?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I've been lifting weights since I was 14. And it was at about that time that I started, like, even as a 14-year-old, I was coaching 8-year-olds. You know what I mean? And so it's like I've been lifting and training and in athletics and in coaching and all of it since as long as I can remember. And so it's always an interesting thought when you start thinking down those roads because it's just kind of what we do. And I wouldn't I don't know any other I don't know any other life really, I guess. You know what I mean? It's kind of that interesting thing. I don't know that it is the idea, maybe more of an extension of myself, if that makes sense. Maybe, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's just kind of been this natural manifestation over time, but it's what I've always done, and it's what I assume I'm gonna die doing. So yeah, we just keep at it. You know what I mean? Just keep living that life. I don't know. I don't know anything different.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like, if you were to introduce yourself at a grocery store or out here in public, do you say, like, oh, I'm Travis and I own such and such gym here in town? Or what does that sound like?
I usually say I'm a strongman coach and leave it at
Cool.
that. It's, I'm a relatively introverted person, so a lot of times that will close down the conversation to anybody that's like, well, he's a what coach? So, like, that's right, and then we just, but no, yeah, I usually say that. I mean, if the conversation goes on, yeah, above the rest training systems here in town. It's like I said, most of what we do is online, and the sport itself is so niche anyway that most people they haven't heard of us, they don't know, you know what I mean? And so, and I'm okay with that, you know what I mean? It's like we stay in our lane and we stay kind of within the niche. And so, yeah, yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And so,
Yeah.
coaching, as that kind of like takes off, and that's kind of like how everybody sees you as like the coach, then are there any parts of you that got quieter as that coach identity kind of just takes on?
Um, maybe. I've the when I think about stuff like this, I think the Mighty Ducks 2. I don't know if you've ever seen the Mighty Ducks 2. There's a moment there towards the end of the movie where Charlie and the coach are talking, and an athlete that was injured comes back from injury. And he always tells the coach, he's like, man, we always thought I'd be a better coach than an athlete anyway. And he takes the clipboard and he comes in as the assistant coach. And I identified with that my entire life. I saw it as a kid. I always think about that moment. I'm like, man, I I've always been relatively good at athletics. I played Division I football. I was state wrestler. Um, but but I was never like an All-American. I was never the state. I never won state. You know what I mean? I've always been there, but I've never been the guy. And I've always gotten a lot of more fulfillment out of like helping out than I ever did doing it myself. And so I think that like as I've grown into a role where I call myself a coach and I see myself as a coach, like allowing for the athlete to kind of become secondary, has been kind of a natural transition. I mean, I still compete. I'll be competing in April at a competition up in North Dakota. Um, but anymore, it's more exploratory. They have really fun events at that show that I'm going to go do for the first time. And the promoters are exceptional promoters. They've been at it for over a decade. And so I'm going to go learn a lot about running shows. And so anymore, being an athlete is a means to being a better coach, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I think that would be a good example of what you were asking about, is just kind of letting let the athlete go and be focused on being a coach.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love how you said that it sounds like being a coach is a lot more like fulfilling to you than anything else. Like it's not about needing more members or selling more product or like anything like that. Like just being a coach in general, even though it's like a job, it's very fulfilling.
Yeah, no, and it's really interesting too. Like I've met a lot of coaches through the sport now, and I've met a lot of like just being an athlete for 20 years. You know, I've met coaches, and they always have something that they get out of it. You know what I mean? There's that draw, and some coaches are very emotionally driven. I wouldn't say that that's me so much. I kind of think of myself as a problem solver. When we don't have problems, I kind of get like I don't know what to do with my hands. It's it's very fun to help solve problems for people. And so as a coach, like seeing problems and helping solve them and then cutting through dogma and finding reality and real information, that's my draw. And so it's really been kind of nice because this online platform has kind of given me an opportunity to focus in on just the meat and potatoes of the thing. And um, so yeah, I mean, we're like the coaching is a means of finding problems to solve. And it's very fulfilling in that way. And it's been a hoot. No, it's been so much fun, so fun.
That's, I think, the best part that a lot of people miss when it comes to finding meaning and purpose is being able to educate the next, group of people who are trying to learn how to do whatever it is you're trying to teach them how to do, right? Just being able to pass on knowledge and to be able to help the next person, I think, is really a big play in finding meaning and purpose. I think a lot of people think that being a coach, like the natural next step is owning a gym. Have you found that at all?
Um, no,
Okay.
I would not advise that. I
You would not
honestly,
advise.
no, 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 no. So, and the reason that I say that is because owning a gym is it's a different phenomenon entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on the type of gym that you want to own, it comes down to a lot more. It comes down to different things, you know. Just being able to thrive as the owner of a gym means being able to extract resources out of that thing. And so what that means, like memberships become a thing, and then facilitating the careers of other people becomes a thing. It's like if you are ambitiously pursuing your own career as a coach, then owning a gym can sometimes become a little bit friction just because you have all these other priorities that you have to tackle. And so honestly, if I was to be able to go back and do it again, I don't know that I would start a gym in the way that I've done. We found a kind of a nice ecosystem that works really nicely, I think. And anymore, the gym being there is now more of a like, if not me then who kind of a situation for the sport. It's like if strongman is going to exist around me, then I mean it takes up Atlas stones. We need kegs, we need bags, we need logs, we need all of this crazy stuff that is messy and that has a large square footage in and of itself. It just doesn't make any economic sense for any other type of gym to house it. So if not us, then who, right? And so we try to keep. I mean that's the next driver. So if I was to say to a coach like, hey, you're thinking about opening a gym, I've told them, I'm like, if not unless you aspire to be a business person that is running a business that just so happens to be a gym. Because if you want to be a coach, I would open a little private studio and just be a coach within your own small ecosystem and let it grow organically as needs demand. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you could have made money 100 different ways, what is it you're actually trying to give people? Because I don't think at the end of the day it's just fitness.
No, um, I think it all comes down to fulfillment. I think it all comes down to fulfillment. I think and when you get that far down to it, it kind of explains a lot about these guys that are doing this. I mean, we just had the Arnold Classic this last weekend. They run an amateur pro-am as well for strongman. So they have the big pro show where the men and women at the top of the sport compete. And then at the same time, they have the world's strongest firefighter, which is a strongman competition just for firefighters. And then they have, which has gone insane. I think Andrew Burton competed on the pro stage this year, and 2 years ago he was a world's strongest firefighter. Like it's not by any means. It's still a very deep competition. It is a legitimate. And then they have the Arnold Pro-Am, which is pro card holders that aren't quite to the stage and amateurs that are pursuing pro cards can all compete together on the same stage, pursuing qualifications and greatness and all that good stuff. And so, but those athletes will pay for their equipment, their registration, they'll pay for travel and housing to get to the contest. They'll pay for food. They'll pay for all of the supplements that they may or may not be taking, all out of pocket. I mean, there's not anything. And if you kind of equate money to time, they're allocating a lot of their life towards that endeavor, and it's kind of so like why, you know what I mean? And there's nothing more than the satisfaction of going and experiencing and the fulfillment that it brings those athletes. It's funny you'll go see those athletes on Instagram and on social media, and they'll go compete, and they're living this just crazy, wild lifestyle for 3 days, and their Instagram is just insane. And then come Monday, they're back in their nurses' uniforms. They're back on duty as firefighters. They're back, whatever, ranch hands, doing whatever it is that they do. And so when you look at that and the commitment that those guys give to that endeavor, to be able to make it better is pretty cool. I think that's kind of what drives me is the idea that those people with all of that desire and all of that want could be earnestly out there making mistakes. They could be out there earnestly doing things and investing in things that will not make them better. And I potentially have guidance that I can give to that person to help them avoid those mishaps and help them avoid those mistakes and guide them through that smoother. And I think that's the cutting through the dogma that is so satisfying. Every time that I find an athlete about to step in a trap and I can help, that's the draw. That's the high. You know what I mean? That's the thing that keeps me circling back. And so, which it's interesting too, because it's not even necessarily when they do achieve the greatness, you know what I mean? Because in my opinion, that they were entitled to that as soon as they committed to it. It was making sure that they earned what they deserved, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. I think especially even therapists, or I'm sure other practitioners too, when your clients succeed or they're doing so well, I think that fuels everybody's job. Makes you feel like, yeah, we're winning. This is it. This is why I do my job. This is why I do what I love. 100%. Is there any part of your job that burns you out?
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly high paying. So there's the perpetual financial stress of running something so niche, and it's almost never the coaching itself. It's almost always the business side of things that does burn. But it's a necessary evil. The problem that we don't mind having, you know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, there's aspects of it, and then but the wave happens, you know what I mean? And so with every stressful situation and every situation that does have the potential to burn you out, within time, within tangible time, you ride the wave back up. And it's been that way for years. It's been that way, since we opened. We've had clients come and go, and those are stressful situations that make you wonder why you do it. But then that one athlete, hits the massive personal record using the things that you helped him to do, and it just, it's like, nah, this is it. We're doing this. We're gonna stay. Like, this is it. This is so cool. We're doing it. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say mostly the business side of it, to be honest, is the closest thing, but it hasn't put the flame out yet.
That's awesome. What would you say has been the benefit of like being your own business, your own, kind of person instead of like being a coach at like Gold's Gym or Planet or like some other entity that would be the business?
I would argue. I mean, I would argue I just have a different job, or I don't. I mean, back in 2020 when we opened, any business that walked through the door we took. I mean, if you wanted something and I could provide it, we did that. So back in those days, I would do nutrition work. Back in those days, we did personal training, fat loss. We wanted to do, you know what I mean? We did all of the good stuff. And anymore, I don't anymore. Nowadays, for the most part, we will take lifters, and when they walk in the door and they say, I want to learn how to use a barbell, I will take that lifter and we will teach them how to use a barbell. But if we have a lifter that walks in and says, hey, I need to lose some weight, I'll be like, I know some high quality professionals within Cheyenne that I'd love to introduce you to. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not what I do anymore. And so what the trainers are doing at Gold's Gym is they are taking people, and whatever their fitness goals may be, they are doing their best to earnestly take them there. I'm going to do my best to take you to your goals, so long as your goals are what we do. And so if your goals are to get strong and your goals are to be, hit athletic extremes and to do so through the pursuit of strength, then yeah, I'm here for you. So with that said, there's no other facilities like us in Cheyenne that do that. And so it was either open my own or leave and find something else to do. Because even when we did open and we were taking all that business, the pursuit was not that. The pursuit was what we do now, right? And so it wouldn't have made any sense. So I think it's a different thing. I think that the coaches and the trainers and stuff that are working at a Gold's or a Planet or whatever, I think that they probably all have their own ambitions as well. And I would encourage them to pursue those earnestly and with enthusiasm. Just because it's a lot more fulfilling, I think, once you get there. So, I think it's a different thing. I think it's just I think it's apples to oranges, to be honest.
Okay, yeah. Well, so what I was trying to understand is like the difference between like if a trainer did work at Gold's Gym or whatever, and you're right, they probably do want to explore their own thing, to work for an agency that pays them and is the business. They don't have to worry about marketing or getting clients or doing any of that, versus like, even though the business aspect can cause the burnout part, you have found so much pleasure in being all of the things, being the business, being the coach, running it all. And it sounds like you're like, I would encourage anybody to take the same leap that I'm doing right now.
I mean, potentially. I mean, it's just when you open a business in general, there is just so much about it that it's just impossible to wrap your brain around until you've lived it. It's the idea that like as the journey goes on, the lens kind of changes, and like as you move through life, you know what I mean? Your outlook on everything, the things that you feel like you can see. And it's not a maturing thing. It's just very literally like you don't know how to compare CRMs until you've lived and worked with a CRM. You know what I mean? It's like, and you don't know how to compare an advertising proposal until you've run a couple of advertising. There's so many things about business itself that until you've lived that life, you can't even imagine that it exists. And I learn new things every month. Every week I'm learning new stuff. It's wild. And I think that there's something to that. They talk about like most businesses fail within the first year, and then of the businesses that survive, they're almost all gone in 5 years. And I think
Yeah.
that there's something to the like I think there's something to that. I think the businesses that grind and make it over that 5 year hump, I honestly think, I mean, by then, that's how long it takes to get a bachelor's. You know, like at that point in time, I think you've actually learned enough about this to know what it is. And so if you're going to pursue something like this, I'm not saying that you should kick the door, like walk out the door and go do it. I am saying that you want to start to pursue that. I don't know how Golds and Planet Fitness and how those places work. I don't know if they encourage you to hunt down your own career path. I don't know. But I would say, like, do try to pursue a facility that does what you want to do. I would say, if you're wanting to start businesses, don't don't think that being the best coach is going to make you a good business person. Go pursue mentorships in business. Go manage a business, and manage multiple businesses and see how they do. It's a lot more. It's a lot more of that, I would say. So I'm not saying go out and start a business and chase your dreams. I would say be strategic, but understand that being a business owner and therefore having the power to create your own brand and drive your own, make the rules, build the systems, it is empowering. And so if what you want to do is unique enough and you want to make a living doing it, I don't think that you're going to avoid owning your own business at some point. And so if that's a dream of yours, I would pursue the steps that it takes to get there, and those steps being mentorship in business, managing business, starting to, I mean, even if you started small and you just tried to sell something online, just start doing something in that realm and start figuring out how that stuff works. And I by no means have figured it out. So if anybody watches this and like, well, I'm going to call that guy and he's going to teach me, give me a couple more years. But that's the attitude I would take for sure.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's awesome. Do you feel like I would assume you feel like you have a lot of community with your coaching people and your athletes. Do you have a lot of community as like a business owner and running all of that?
I personally, I don't.
Oh,
Yeah, I just to be, I mean, perfectly transparent. It's not that I shouldn't. I should. It's just the nature of it is it's been online. And so in the online space, you have to pursue that a lot more so. So, like, I'm not a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm not a member of Kiwanis or the Rotary Club or any of the like, dare I say, networking, social. I don't know. I don't know how they identify themselves. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't know what their goals are, to be honest. But I'm not a member of any of those communities. So it's like, so here, like, I mean, I hired a business coach 2 years ago, and through him, we've met some people, and that's been helpful. I know other coaches around the region, and we'll, I'll seek out their guidance when it's necessary. But in all reality, finding strongman coaches, finding strength coaches that are working online, that are making a good living with it, that aren't kind of gimmicky in, well, I don't know. I don't want to say gimmicky because that kind of implies that like they're not actually giving you anything. I guess I'll say that aren't in more generic niches within fitness. You know what I mean? Finding those is tough. It's tough. And so it is such a niche thing that for 99.9% of people, the sport is a hobby. It is not a living. It doesn't make a living. Yeah, so a lot of it's been self-learning, and that's okay. You know what I mean? It's just, I think it's a different journey to take. I mean, it's not that I don't recommend it. I mean, talking to people and learning from people it's the fastest way it's the fastest way to learn. It just is, you know. I've had a couple of strongman coaches too that have been massively helpful um, in learning, and so yeah, I've reached out to them a couple times on coaching issues for sure.
Okay. Do you feel like there's one person that you would point towards as like a mentor in all of it?
I mean,
Not yet.
maybe not yet. I don't. It's just there's so many there's so many aspects of this. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And so you have the coaching side of it. And so on the coaching side, I've learned a lot from just being an athlete over the years. So that like I the one of the first coaches that I ever and he's like an uncle to me. His name's Kevin Corbett. He's up in Seattle. He's actually getting inducted into the Washington State Hall of Fame as a wrestling coach here, I believe in 2 months. Well deserved. Has been for years. Um, and his I'd like to think that a lot of his like social code and everything has been absorbed into the soul and makes its way out into the world through me. And so like, but that's kind of like that's some foundational. I mean, I've known him for so long, and so there have been coaches along the way that have made relatively similar impacts, you know, over the years, and it's athletes as well, you know what I mean, learning from athletes and the spirit and the things that they take with them into the contests and those things. I mean, so to say, you know, to pick out a mentor is kind of a bizarre, it feels weird to think that, like, you know what I mean, because it's just it's this pool of source that it's just all coming in simultaneously, and it's not just that. I mean, it's authors, you know what I mean, it's guys that have written books, and then, and you know, and it's like you look at the coaching side, and then you look at the business side, and the business has its own set of inspirations and things like that. So yeah, I mean, it's like I said, Kevin was kind of the first person introduced into my life that kind of helped with the whole like kind of those like who are you going to try to be as a man type of questions, you know what I mean, and answers and things like that. You know, I think everybody needs somebody like that outside of their parents. You know, just somebody that can kind of come in and let you know that your parents are right, almost. Kind of give them the backup, and so Kevin was always that one for me, and Jeff Keener was the other one. He was very similar um, in the lessons that he gave, and so, but those, I mean, and they're like family anymore. You know what I mean? But I haven't called them, you know, an actual like a coach in a decade and a half. You know what I mean? It's been a long time. So yeah, I guess I would say maybe not yet, but that's not to say that I'm not out here like learning from a lot of people, a lot of great people, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's been the best part about how the internet has fast tracked our lives is that you can just learn anything and everything underneath the sun. Do you feel like, well, let me back up here. When you like look at like your coaching and that kind of experience and the business and then the gym aspect, like all of these moving parts, is there like a culture or like a feel or a value or like a part of all of that that somebody would like distinctly label is with you? You know how like for example, do you know Louis Simmons with Westside Barbell?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was gonna say almost everybody who's like in that lift heavy,
right.
kind of field knows exactly. But that Louis Simmons died with like the aspect that like West Side, I am West Side, and after me there will be no West Side. Like you will either lift heavy or die out back. Like those are the rules, those are the stipulations, that's the values, that's what we walked in with, and that's what we'll leave with, right? And
Yeah,
so now that he's gone, a lot of people have tried to like carry on like the gym or the legacy and just like working hard and those kinds of things. But it's not the same, right?
yeah, totally.
So do
Yeah,
you think
no,
anybody would apply that with you?
I, we, you're we're getting dangerously close to inviting me to compare myself to Louis Simmons, and
Well, no.
that
I meant
is
like just like,
terrifying.
do you have like a label of like I would point
I
to
don't.
like this kind of value, right? So I had Justin from Upgrades 24-hour gym, right? He spoke highly of you,
Yeah,
by the way. I'm very excited to like
I
release
like
you
Justin a
guys
lot. He's
back to
good people.
back.
Yeah.
Yes. But his main mantra I felt like I got from that was community and just really valuing the members that came to his gym and how well the members made his gym feel like the community he so desired to even start the gym in the first place.
Sure. No, and I get that. No, and I've met Justin. He's great. I mean, we helped him to host a benefit event over at his gym, a deadlift contest, and he did all the work. I mean, he was fantastic. A family in town in the community had a loss, and he stepped up in a major way. No, cool stuff. And I would, yeah, totally. Justin community, that in my head it makes sense. I I think that what I would say here is I would really I want to be a trusted resource. You know what I mean? That's who I want to become. That's how I want people to see me. That's the dream. And that's the reputation that I pursue. When I do things, I mean, I'm human. When things happen that bring me away from that potential reputation, that's the stuff that hurts my soul. And when we do things that people find genuinely helpful and that resource it manifests in their success, that's when all of the feelings are amazing, and that's the fulfillment. It's just kind of a thing. It's hard to I hesitate to say what people would know me for. You know what I mean? It seems like an audacious thing. So I guess I'll speak as far as to say what I hope to be known for one day, and that is, yeah, like that trusted resource. I mean, Louis Simmons was so, just as an example, you brought him up as the example, and I think that everybody kind of looks to that man as a symbol in a different way. Because yeah, he was hardcore. I mean, he was the definition of hardcore, but he wasn't just hardcore in his pursuit of the lifting of the weights. You know what I mean? He was one of the people that pioneered. I mean, shoot. I mean, he was one of the first to get the Russian text translated and to have all of that stuff come in. So it was a relentless pursuit of knowledge that led to this. I mean, he revolutionized strength and conditioning in multiple ways, and now some of the greats within our community, Joe Ken is a sort of a living hero for me. Chad Coy is a sort of a living hero for me. These guys are utilizing the same principles that Louis Simmons handed down decades ago. So it's. I mean, I think any coach should aspire to the greatness. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, that's the legacy that is Louis Simmons is bananas. And so, yeah, I think being a resource, being a trusted resource, I think is my objective. Is what I would like to be known for, and kind of a problem solver potentially, and helping guys make the next step. Helping guys take the next step, whether it be a small one or a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you ever think about leaving some kind of legacy behind, whether it's like for the people in your personal life or for the people at your gym or in your coaching?
No, I'm not. I don't think I'm at that part of my life yet. I hope I'm not. Maybe I should be, but I'm more
Why do
thinking.
you hope
I'm
not?
worried about next week. I like it's. I think I talk about this with my girlfriend a lot because she's just entered nursing school. Um, she takes on a lot. You know what I mean, and her resilience and her endurance through those things is incredible. And so standing next to her as a person that's doing what I'm doing, I tell her that we're both in the hustle. We're both in the hustle portions of our lives. We are not like, it's funny. I have a couple of investors that helped me open the place, and I was talking to one of them a couple of days ago, and he's talking legacy. You know what I mean? And he's got a corporate position at a very successful company, and he's slowly selling his way out. And um, talking to him, he was like, "Man, at your age, we weren't anything either." And so it's that kind of a. I think there's a certain value in the self awareness of knowing that like we're still building, and so. No, I would say I'm not looking at legacy. What I'm still looking at is like the build. I'm still hustling for the next thing. Um, and so yeah, I would say legacy has not even popped into my head yet. We're still looking at the rest of 2026 and setting our sights on, just the next couple of years.
Yeah. So do you feel like that allows you to have a very open mind when it comes to like what do you look like or sound like 5, 10 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I've always I've never been that guy. I've never been the guy that likes the idea of the 5-year goal, of the 10-year goal, and then working backwards from there. I think it might work well for a lot of people, and it might even work better for me if I had like the perpetual accountability buddy over there that's like, I don't know, stuck at my face every 5 minutes. But the fact of the matter is, it's like it's anything can happen, that'll just come in and sideswipe it all. You know what I mean? And if you're not in the pursuit of something for the love of it, and you're not living in that moment, then when that thing does inevitably come, you're destroyed. It's like I've seen a number of athletes that will aspire to greatness, and they will identify with the aspirations of greatness. And that's what drives them to train, and they train hard. You're As a person that cares about their success, you're constantly on the edge of your seat, because an injury will completely derail them. And then if they do achieve that success, they won't know what to do next. And both things are scary, right? And then you have the athletes that have been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, and when you talk to them, it was all for the love of the game. They were just doing it because it's what they do. It's what they loved doing. They trained because they enjoyed training. They went to the gym because they enjoyed going to the gym. And that can be a community thing, that can be a personal investment thing, that can be whatever it is. But what it is something that's resilient, and it's something that is perpetual. And I think that's more valuable. I think finding a place in life where you like like you have the problems around you that you don't mind having, and then the successes that come from tackling those problems give you more fulfillment than the problems themselves give you stress. And it's, you know what I mean, it's like this balance. And it's like, and if you can find that spot in life and kind of ride the wave, then what's better than that, you know what I mean? So I think it does give you a lot of freedom to just be whatever you're going to be in 5 years. I mean, I know in 5 years I'll be coaching stuff. I know in 5 years I'll probably still be lifting weights, and barring some kind of a catastrophic injury. And so, yeah, I do. I think it gives you a lot of freedom to kind of pick what you're going to end up doing. It doesn't tether you to those aspirations.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Do you think that any part of your past from 5, 10 years ago has impacted either negatively or positively on who you are today?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah.
Were any of them
1,000%.
planned?
No.
No.
No. Like there's been all sorts of stuff, and I mean, like recently, The most, I mean, even within this life, you know, I rent a gym. I rent a space. So I have a landlord, and my landlord has his own, I have, you know, count your blessings. I have landlords that are just immaculately charitable people. They're just amazing people. But even them, they have life, and they have insurance, and they have property tax. They have their life. You know, it's like, and so when the things that impact their life, tertiary things to me, therefore impact mine. You know what I mean? It's like I can't see that coming. None of that. And those are the sorts of things that can make you pick up and move. They're the sorts of things that can make the whole, like, your entire life flip over. I mean, taking a shot on new systems within this, you know what I mean? Some athletes love it, some athletes hate it. You know, scaling into things it forces you to look down the barrel of the gun and risk. And any one of those risks comes with its own consequences. And you know what I mean? You suffer those consequences, and the best thing you can do is learn from them. But the unforeseen consequences are the ones you never plan for, and they're the ones that impact you the most because you didn't plan for them. And so, no, 1,000%. I mean, I've had athletes come on that I was humbled to even have the discussion with. Like, you are an amazing athlete. For you to consider me is amazing. And then I've had athletes leave, and it was utterly heartbreaking. You know what I mean? And then the business has done this, the business has done that. You know, my life has done this, has done that. So no, 1,000%. I mean, it's every year is a direct outcome of, you know, last year plus all the ones before. 1,000%.
Absolutely. Would you say there's anything personal that caused you to think twice about whether or not you're on the right path?
Every time an athlete leaves. Every time an athlete leaves. And it's wild. I would say and I mean, some of, like, a couple of them have been the direct consequence of my own, you know what I mean? I take a risk on this and it goes bad and the athlete is unsatisfied and they're gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but every time an athlete leaves, it just makes you like, oh, like what happened? What could I have done? So yeah, I mean, every time that, yeah, I mean, so sometimes it's a positive thing, sometimes it is, but yeah, every single time it makes you wonder, like, what could I have done? What should I have done? And frankly, like therefore, should I be doing? You know what I mean? And it happens every time. That, and then the financial stuff. It's like every time the financial pinches come to do their thing, it's like, man, you know, that one's less emotional and more like, I can't seem to solve my Rubik's Cube, frustrating. But yeah, it's both of those, definitely, every single time they hit, you know what I mean? But that's kind of I don't mean to, like, use poor language if I'm not supposed to on the podcast,
No,
but
you
it's
certainly, please.
the subtle art to not giving a fuck. That book is fantastic.
So good. What a great
So good.
read.
And so one of the concepts that he talks about that just hit me hard is the idea of finding problems you just don't mind having. It's like, whether you're rich or poor, you got financial problems. Whether you got a million friends or just two, you got social problems. And it was like, so it's that idea of, like, finding the problems that you don't seem to mind having. And so every single time those things hit, is kind of that question is like you try to do that. I mean, I'll go for a walk and just kind of do that, like is the next potential high still worth having these problems? And so far it's been, yeah, we'll stick here. We'll stick around. It's fine. We'll keep going. Every time it forces you to kind of cycle through those thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like that causes you to really learn and grow and adapt, change. The you that's now is probably not the same you that was, 10, 15 years ago.
Oh, not even close. Well, I mean, 10, 15 years ago, I was in my mid-20s. It's it's a whole different person. But
Do you
but
miss
no,
that
like,
at
to your
all?
meeting, my 20s,
The you that was in the 20s.
Oh, I don't know. Not really. I don't know. My girlfriend makes fun of me. I'm an old man. I think I've embraced my age and my maturing maybe better than some. I don't know. But no, I wouldn't say I miss them. I miss the 20s. But like to the point, the I mean the online system that I've got put together between delivery of the programming, delivery of like facilitating communication and developing technical mastery with the athletes through an online platform. I mean, it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do. It's tricky. And so every piece of it almost has been patching a hole that an athlete leaving identified. And so, I mean, some of them left because communication fell off as scaling happened. Some of them left because this trying to upgrade a programming system, and it just it didn't take. It wasn't good. It didn't. The quality of the service suffered as a result. And so it's like, and that's kind of the thing too, is like you talk about legacy, and it's like, man, I'm still patching holes every year. We're still doing these small refinements to the service as a means of building the service. And I got a feeling that the service is going to have to exist for a couple of years before we have anything that we could call legacy, right? So it's like, even once I do figure something out where most of the holes are patched, then it's going to be maintaining that for a couple of years to build a reputation around it. You know what I mean? And have it be the trusted service that I hope to provide. And so it's every single, I mean, every year things happen, and every year those things create the catalysts that, I don't know, inspire the growth, I guess, and inspire the problem solving process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always think it's interesting to hear other people talk about the way legacy is spoken about. Like for you, it sounds like it's very far away, and it's like something that is like very time dedicated to creating. But like God forbid if something were to happen to you tomorrow, like people are going to remember you or have a memory of you of some kind that is going to shape their version of your legacy with or without your intent, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and I think you're probably right, but like, I think it kind of comes down to the materiality of the impact that you've made on the people that will remember you. You know what I mean? It's like, um, I've got my loved ones that will ideally remember me for my best qualities and that sort of thing. I've got people that I've met and disagreed with over the years that are probably going to remember me in a very different way. And then but I mean, so that then you compare a situation like that to somebody like Louis Simmons, and it's like his contribution to the world of strength and conditioning was so dramatic and so massive that he left a material impact on people that he'd never even met. And those people are remembering him decades down the line. He only just passed, but he will be remembered for decades. You know what I mean? And so it's this idea that, like, the idea of legacy to me, I mean, sure. I think if you're going to look at the purest definition of the word, I'm going to leave something behind if I was to pass tomorrow. But I don't know, to be worthy of the word in general conversation, you know what I mean? It's almost like it seems bigger. The word seems bigger. I think it carries more weight, especially when we talk about the legacy of Louis Simmons. Terry Todd is another one. The legacy of these major names in strength and conditioning and in sport and in stuff in general. It's like, to make an impact that's talked about by like the children of
Masses.
people you never met. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to make an impact that's big. And the thing that I think is, and I don't know, you never know what happens behind closed doors. They say don't meet your heroes. They might be all narcissistic and who knows. But I think at the end of the day, most of what you observe is just a genuine love for what they're doing, and they just let that fuel into what they do so far that they created that impact. And with that the case being, like I'm letting that give me peace of mind as I just nerd out on what I like and what I do. And um yeah, I think just about everybody that I've ever met that I think I would consider to have something like that, have some kind of a legacy following behind them, has seemed to be that way.
Yeah. And so then for you to want to be known for being such a resource, do you feel like that identity aspect is in all places? Like when you're with your girlfriend, does she feel like you're a good resource to go to, the go to solve all her problems?
um, it depends on the problems.
Understood. Understood.
I think I'm also the cause of a large number of her problems, to be perfectly honest. Um,
Oh no.
but I mean, one of the things that's brought us closer together is just the game of life. I don't know. It's kind of cheesy, like arguing with landlords. You know, uh, custody situations, battle planning budget when it comes time to go to nursing school. You know, it's like those sorts of things. I think I'm helpful. You know what I mean when it comes to those sorts of things. And so, but again, it's like it's that hustle part of the life. It's just so yeah. But I mean, when it comes to like getting stuff done around the house, you know what I mean? Like I'm just so you get it. It's like I'm a strongman resource. Very specifically.
That's awesome. That is great to hear. Yeah, sometimes, it's just interesting to hear if people feel like they show up the same in all aspects of their life, or if different parts of their life get to see like different versions of them.
1,000%. I I don't know that it would be possible. I like how can you I don't know, maybe the person exists. Maybe the person exists that can equally give themselves to every aspect and have it all manifest that way. You know what I mean? But like I think that what like I think in that specific conversation when it comes to like the loved ones, I think that like I think that you're chasing a passion as a person, and every person has the passion that they're chasing as that person. And I think that like having the loved one and being in love with that person means pulling yourself away from that passion to commit to them in some capacity. And then at the same time, the reciprocation of that relationship is supporting the passion. You know what I mean? And so, um, yeah, I don't know how any one person could commit, could be so perfectly balanced. It would be.
Yeah.
I think that accepting the human condition is accepting that you're gonna have some shortcomings in some places, and I think accepting a person enough to be in a long term relationship with means accepting their shortcomings to some extent. You know what I mean? As dare we say, the problems that you don't mind having. It's like, and so she has her frustrations. I'm bad at keeping my calendar. I'm bad at remembering to clean things when I'm supposed to clean things. And so, like, we do our best to remind me of what's on the calendar and keep a list of the chores I'm supposed to do. And, and we do our best, you know what I mean? And that's, in my opinion, that's the expression there is understand that you do have shortcomings, but because you care and because of that, you commit to figuring out ways to make sure that you pull away enough to make sure that that's done. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
It does
Kevin
make
used to
sense.
say you make time for the things you care about, right? It's not that you don't have time, it's that you make time for the things you care about. Yeah.
Yeah. No, all of that makes absolute sense. Do you feel like any of those shortcomings follow you into your business, like into being a coach? Like the same kind of behavioral pattern? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I I tend to be very big picture.
Mm.
What you can see on my webcam is nice and orderly and organized. The rest of
I
my
love
office
it.
is a disaster. The
No.
rest of my office is an utter disaster. Um, and so a lot of the problems that I've had in the past as a coach even sometimes come down to those nitty-gritty details.
Mm.
When things are very material, in my opinion, they take up a lot of my brain space. But when things are smaller and and then that's the problem is if the athlete doesn't understand the materiality to you, then how can they weigh it in their own way? And so things that are important to them that you don't know are important to them may not seem important to you, and so it's just and so it's this but then again it comes down to, and that's what I'm talking about, is the system has to patch those holes. So like for example, I have a tendency, the way that my technical mastery system works is the athletes are responsible for videoing their lifts and then submitting them through, we use Slack, so we use Slack lists, and so they're responsible for uploading their video through the Slack list. When I go through and I watch the tape, I just identify stuff and I bang it out. I just identify stuff and I say stuff. And to a lot of athletes, it's very defeating. It's like to not ever get that. But to me, it's just like the fact that you submitted video at all is why I love you. That's I'm good now. I'm good. And so like the so when they're not getting the feedback like, hey, you smoked this, really nice job, you know what I mean, sometimes that lack of that feedback can feel defeating over time, and I'm not empathetic to that. It doesn't hit me in the feels. I've been an athlete for 20 years, and just it's like I show up and the coach tells me things and I do the thing and then we move on, and that was always my personality. So what we're doing as a result is I'm trying to what I'm trying to do is figure out ways to build into my system a way of remembering what I said last week. Building, and AI is helping, automation is helping, build systems so that like last week's coaches notes pull forward, so that I'm not just watching the tape, pointing all the things out. It's like, oh, you did way better on this than last week, and I can see that and I remember now. You know what I mean? And building those systems in place. And then just celebrating with the athletes more, even if it's small. Like that's a thing I feel like I'm doing my job. And these athletes, a lot of them are trying to impress their coach. They're trying to do well for their coach, and I empathize with that. It never occurred to me that I would be that guy. And so yeah, like the shortcomings that I have as a person when it comes to those like interpersonal relationship qualities and those things that I think that any person needs to give as they take, you know what I mean? I've always struggled with that. And so trying to build systems around it and pass the service in those ways. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're selling a coaching service, you're selling like a productive relationship, and it's, if you don't figure out a way to facilitate that, so no, 1,000%. The shortcomings that I have everywhere, they are everywhere. You know what I mean? And that's just,
Yeah.
so it's like I said, that's the human condition. Like you just try to get better. You just try to be better, get better, do better. And over time, hopefully you are better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things I definitely want to highlight with the podcast in general is I feel like there's so much out there about how to run a business, how to do this, how to be a coach, how to, but there's no real I haven't seemed to find like this identity factor of like this is how a human operates. Like they have a psychology aspect to them. They have flaws. They have shortcomings.
Yeah.
There's like so much behind the scenes of how to run your gym, how to be a coach, how to, financially be stable. Like there's so much psychology underneath all of that people don't see. And I think especially with like the way social media online stuff is, it always looks perfect and glamorous, and like all of your stuff online, I was like, wow, like he's really impressive. Like this is going to be huge. Like, and then Justin came on and he thought so highly of you. I was like, man, this is, wow, you're like, might as well be like the most perfect strongman in Cheyenne, Wyoming I could have ever been able to have the honor to talk to. But like the psychology behind like who you are as a person, you're not perfect. Last I checked, you weren't the Jesus Christ that I was needing to wait for. Like,
No,
so,
no,
so
not
that's,
even remotely close. Yeah, no, and
yeah.
I get you, and especially when it comes to fitness, there's so much inherent machismo to the industry as a whole that like I always find it funny that like so I mean I've been lifting weights, I've been training for 20 years, I've been reading, studying this stuff for 10, and you still have guys like you'll meet them and they'll find out you're a strength coach, and within 10 minutes they're trying to tell you everything they know about strength coaching, like as if this it I tell people, it's like nobody taught you how to lift weights in elementary school. You should know how to do basic math. You should probably know how to read. But there is absolutely no reason for you to know how the gym works. There's not. I studied it. I spent a lot of time in these gyms. I know it. And I'll teach it to you. But it's like walking into a law firm and expecting to know law. It's wild. But it exists, and it exists uniquely within, and it's scary for people. People walk into the gym knowing they don't know anything, thinking that they should, and it's such a yeah. So on top of what you're saying, I mean, because what you're saying is pervasive across industries, right? But within like knowing how to work out it's almost like something that a man is supposed to know how to do, and that's weird to me. It's weird. But it's a thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's super highlighted when it comes to like mind muscle connection. I think so many people are so disconnected from their body, even though like in therapy or like the psychology realm, we're all like, oh, breath work or, all this stuff. And there's like, most people can't connect their body enough to understand how to move a barbell. Like, where are we?
Yeah, no, and I mean even there, some of the best athletes that we've had in this place have not they're not very intrinsic. I mean, even Louis Simmons used to talk about introverted versus extroverted lifters, and he talked about it in a different way. He wasn't talking about social versus antisocial or anything that we tend to align with that dichotomy. He was talking about just the fact that like an introverted lifter has a tendency to be meditating as they're training. They're inside themselves, feeling and observing and journalizing, making mental notes. Whereas the extroverted lifter is very much just making this go over there. And some of the best lifters we've had have been that extroverted person. Can you feel your shoulders working? Can you feel your... No. Okay. Well, that's an interesting one for me. I usually can, and so now you have to figure out. But this like they're also lifting it in we had one woman in here who was lifting at an international elite level, and getting her to lift and tell you what she felt afterwards was just beating your head against the wall. I mean, there was just nothing. It was she felt the weight go up or she didn't, and that was it. And it's like, what do? You know what I mean? It's like so. I think that there's a skill there. I think that there's a personality trait there. I think that there's, and I don't think that it's a prerequisite for success within the stuff. But yeah, to your point, I mean, it's like you're trying to teach people from that place, and it may or may not always work. Yeah. Yeah.
No. Yeah, understandable. So, but yeah, so to my point then earlier, like I do genuinely really appreciate your time and you being able to come on here and to talk a little bit about you and your even your own little personal life. Because yeah, the whole concept of me trying to do the podcast is to get that psychology edge to Like, you are a real human being with your own struggles and your own goals and dreams and passions, and really helping everybody else recognize that, like, those are human things that are okay to be had and things that we can find role models for. And so I do genuinely still feel like it's been such an honor and a blessing to have you on, and to give me your time to talk to you, especially after Justin just hyped you up so much. It was like, wow, I'm the best person in the world now.
Well,
So
Justin's
thank
good
you.
stuff. I appreciate that. It's an honor to hear he was saying such things, such good things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but no, I appreciate it. This has been fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And maybe we will have to do more of these in the future. So
Yeah, for sure.
awesome. Great. Well, thank you again. And I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Yeah, I will do that. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Bye.
Bye bye.